have such a festive glass. What does that say?
Welcome everyone to Weekend Wind Down. I'm business coach Nancy Ganzakorfer and certified body language trainer. And welcome. I'm here with Desi Creswell, and I see your maiden name's in there too. I'm not going to try to pronounce that.
Yep, I upgraded in that department.
And I don't know if I upgraded. I am divorced now, but Sylvester was my maiden name, as you see. So that was always easy.
Yeah.
So I want to welcome people as they come on. And I keep saying I'm going to stop doing Weekend Wind Down, but I don't know. I keep getting great guests, so I keep doing it. So hi, Melissa. Cheers. Desi, I don't know if you're drinking wine or water, but
it's only 3:30 here, so I've got some tea.
All right. Well, cheers with your tea. I'm the only one drinking wine anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's my Friday night kickoff, which is awesome. So I'll give everyone a little update on my week before we get into it with Desi, which I'm really excited because this is a topic that is a constant top priority for everyone, right? It's the overwhelm, time management, how do we handle everything we have in our lives? As a matter of fact, I had a little bit of that this week, Desi, so you can... Perfect timing. So I rolled out a new program called Profit Insiders for Interior Designers, and it's got a one-on-one component, a group component, access into my membership site. It's an application process, meaning you have to fill out an application to opt in and then get on the phone with me for 15 minutes to see if you're a good fit. And I'm so grateful. I already have 8 people in the group and 3 or 4 more on my calendar, and we still have emails going out. But for anyone who might be interested, I want to let you know that I'm shutting it down on the 15th at midnight. No more applications into this founding group. And what was really exciting, and I'll share more about this in coming broadcasts, is I found a program that I can actually transcribe my videos and then give the group access, searchable by keyword, the group coaching program. So for 90 minutes of the group coaching, I'll be able to give them a transcript, the video, and they'll be able to search with timestamps exactly where certain things were mentioned and go right to that spot in the recording. Isn't that cool?
That is going to be really cool.
That's really cool. So that's like a huge extra benefit where if you attended the group coaching and now you just want to go back to one spot, you don't want to have to figure out where it was, it's going to be searchable. So we're still working out the kinks, and I didn't even promote that on the landing page because we weren't sure we could get it working, but now I think we're getting it working. So anyway, what else happened in my week? I'm still writing a book. Stay tuned for that. As that continues to come out, I'll tell you guys what it's about. I'm working with my one-on-one clients and a ton of success there. So overall, a really good week. How was your week?
My week's been going well. I've been needing actually to think about the overwhelm topic myself. We, of course I have young children, and so we had school break and then the holidays, and then we went out of town for a wedding and got back, and all of a sudden it's like, we're just back in it this week. Back to school, back to work, all of that stuff. So have been trying to be as absolutely efficient as possible to make it all happen.
I remember those days well, and it used to feel like it was vacation when my kids went back to school.
Yes.
Just saying.
I love the time, but there is something about routine that my body just craves.
Definitely. And I think that's true for all of us. So, all right, let me say welcome again to you. This is Desi Creswell. She is a life and business coach to interior designers. And as you guys know, I love bringing on other coaches who do exactly what I do, because I want you guys to connect with whomever is able to help you, whether it's me, whether it's Desi, whether it's Claire, Luann, I don't care who it is. I just want everyone to connect with whoever can help them live a happy, balanced, profitable life, or just create the life they really want. So welcome, Desi. Tell everyone a little bit about you.
Well, like you said, Desi Creswell. So that's my website, desicreswell.com, and you can check that out for some information. And I am a certified life and business coach, and I really work with my clients on getting out of overwhelm so that they can create that next level of success in their business, but also not at the expense of their own profitability and their own enjoyment of both their business and their personal lives. So that's something that I feel very passionate about. And it ties back to my journey into this work also as well, coming from being an interior designer. For many years, I was a commercial interior designer and then started my own residential practice and did that for quite some time. And, with the addition of kids into my life, that brought up all sorts of new challenges in terms of how to manage my time. And as you know, there's so many different parts to running an interior design business. So I think it's really easy to get overwhelmed when you feel like you're wearing all the hats and not wearing any of them well. And that was kind of what brought me to coaching in the first place, as the start sort of this learning experience. And as I went along and got further into the work, I really started feeling like I wanted to be the person that I wish I could have hired when I was in practice. And so that was part of the desire to get my own certification in life coaching and start working with businesses on not only just building their business, but also enjoying their business a lot more.
I think that's really key. I'm glad you said that, enjoying their businesses, because here's what I find. Once people start getting control and even the small steps they take for improvement starts right away making them feel more successful, because they're not just having life pull at them. They're actually controlling the path of their own business and their own destiny and their own life and making decisions proactively.
Yeah, and I think that's so important, because I think often when you start your own business, it's this huge dream of going out on your own and you're creating your own designs and you're making your own schedule. But at the same time, I mean, there's a big learning curve to what you're doing in business as an entrepreneur. And then on top of it, it's like you want to just kind of take any project you can, and because you're trying to build your business. And before you know it, it's like you've got a lot going on, but you don't necessarily have a defined direction that you're headed. And I think that's where a lot of the overwhelm comes in too, is feeling like you're just spinning your wheels, but you're not sure like where that bike is headed. And so I think it's really important to take the time to stop and really assess where you want to be going.
I think it's really important. But the other thing is, when you are taking these jobs in the beginning because you just want to take a job, because you need a job and you need the money, you also have to set some boundaries as to what you allow that client to put you through. Just because they've hired you, just because they're paying you, doesn't make you less than. And I am very clear with my clients, you are a peer. You're a peer to them with a special talent that they need. So you should never allow them to treat you less than. And I don't care, even if you're in the beginning of your career or you're at the end of your career, you should always understand that you are an equal.
Absolutely.
Right. And to set those boundaries is going to really help with the overwhelm.
Yeah, I think we teach other people how to treat us, basically. I mean, you're essentially, however you're interacting with that client, you're giving them a lesson on how they should be interacting with you. And so I think that's a really, really smart point, Nancy.
So let's talk about overwhelm. If someone's finding themselves in overwhelm right now, and I can rattle off, why are you overwhelmed? You think you need to be on every social media. You're listening to every coach, every podcast, reading every blog, looking at everyone's Instagram account. I was very impressed when I Facebook messaged Desi and she didn't answer. And I'm like, she didn't answer. Like, that's how I communicate. But you said I communicate via email. And I was like, okay. So you taught me how to effectively communicate with you. And it worked, and it was no big deal.
Yeah. Well, and I think, going back to like all the different channels and lessons you could subscribe to, it's like one of the top things you can do to get out of overwhelm is constrain your focus. And I often have clients who feel like constraint can be a little limiting. Like us creative types, we want to be doing it all and learning it all, and it's super fun until it's not, and it's just too much. and it's not fun at all. But it's, it's like in constraining down your focus to like who you're learning from and what the specific strategies are you're implementing in your business. When you do that, you're actually like allowing yourself for a lot more freedom. It doesn't feel like it at first because you have to start to say no to yourself and no to certain opportunities. But in the end, that's what creates that expansive quality to your day.
Definitely. And to your month and to your year, it just continues to expand out. I had a client once, one-on-one, and she was very overwhelmed. And I said, open up your calendar for the next 2 weeks and read me what's there. And she read me what was there. I'm like, take that off, take that off, take that off. And we took 3 pretty big things off her calendar. She's like, yeah, but I promised so-and-so I would be there. I'm like, and does being there work towards your life or business goals right now?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I know. And that could be a really hard, question to ask yourself, because sometimes they are things that you really want to say yes to, but you can only say yes to so many things. And so there comes a point where you have to get honest with yourself about the number of hours you have committed to work and the number of hours you have for other commitments. And I mean, it becomes a math equation, essentially. Are the hours you have lining up with what you're working? And if not, then you're setting yourself up for overwhelm.
Yes. So give us a couple of tricks I have the tricks that I share, but I love to hear other people's to readjust when you're currently in overwhelm. What are things that you can do right now to kind of like stop the train and get it back in control?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one of the favorite things that I like to do is, there's kind of 2 versions to this, but I call it start, stop, keep. And it's an exercise you can do with basically anything. And it's, what do you want to start doing? What do you want to stop doing? And what do you want to keep doing? And it gives you this broad overview of what's working, what's not working, and, what you might want to be doing differently going forward. And I think that's just a really helpful place to start, because it gives you a good overview, not only of just like what are the things you're spending your time on, but evaluating what your end goal is and how are those things that you're either, stopping, starting, keeping, contributing to that end result. So I think that's always a really...
Give me an example. Start, stop, keep. What are 3 things?
Yep. So like you might want to, let's say you're working on filling your pipeline for the coming year. So you might want to start attending a networking event on a weekly basis, because you need to be making more connections with potential referral partners. You might have been spending a bunch of time every week looking to create a blog post or a newsletter, but you're finding that clients don't convert from your content you're putting out. So that would be a stop. A keep might be keep staying in touch with your current clients who have been very happy with your services, in order to continue to build those relationships and get referrals from past clients.
Love it. I probably on a daily basis hear, either on initial consultations or with clients, but I have to be on Facebook and I have to be on Instagram. Now I'm being told I have to be on Pinterest and I have to blog and I have to network and I have to write to my email list and I have to create an email list, and it just goes on. And then of course you have to take care of your clients. And I go, why do you have to be on Instagram? Like, where have all your clients come from the past? And when they say where their clients have come from, I'm like, so why are we worrying about Instagram right now? Not saying Instagram is not down the road, that maybe bring you more clients, but right now, let's look at the low-lying fruit and where you've gotten clients in the past, and let's go with the tried and true, what's worked for you. And immediately you see the whole like, really? Like, okay.
Yeah.
I don't have to do this right now. So you're ridding them of the overwhelm in the short run, and we'll put that into the plan for the future.
Yeah, yeah. And I think there's something exciting about trying something new and seeing other people succeed. And so they're like, well, that's going to work for me too. But at the same time, we have to look at what's already working for us and how can you capitalize on the success you've already had. So, and have you heard the term lead levers ever?
Say it again?
Lead levers?
No.
Basically, I mean, you could look at where you're getting your referrals in your business or where you're getting your business in general. It wouldn't necessarily have to be a referral. But like, let's say maybe it is Instagram and you have a ton of conversion there, because some people do get a lot of business from Instagram, right? And you know certain types of posts that you post tend to work well. And so you're taking a look at all of that data, and you know that if you post a certain number of times per week with a certain type of content, you likely will be able to convert 1 out of every 5 people that you interface with or something like that. So you want to take a look at what's working really well. And it's like, it's a lever essentially. So like if you pull harder on it, meaning you go all in on it, you start directing more time, energy, focus on it. It's like an ATM kind of, you pull the lever and a new client's going to pop out. That's kind of how I think about it.
Wouldn't that be nice? Everyone's thinking, really? Okay, let me go out and figure out and pull the lever harder.
But I think that most of us are so busy in our day to day, like, just thinking like, well, I need to do this and this and this. Or even, maybe you have 3 things that work pretty well for getting you new clients, but there's one thing that works really well for getting you new clients. So it's like, what would happen if you dropped your efforts on those 2 and went all in on that one?
I hope everyone's really listening to this, because this is really key. And I'm going to add to this that for some reason, we get bored really easily. So the thing that has brought us business consistently over and over again, suddenly we're like, oh, wait, I heard this, podcast, and I think I should be doing this, instead of what has worked in the past, like that rinse and repeat gets boring, right? Like you said, we're not excited anymore. So we're always trying to go for the next excitable thing that's going to drive the adrenaline.
Yeah.
But nothing drives adrenaline more than getting another client.
Yes.
So like, stop. And I'm so guilty of this. This is why I understand it, everybody. I'm so guilty of this. And Caden's on, my son, and he knows. I'm like, oh, I built a landing page. It did well. Okay, now I want to build another landing page and come up with a new program and a new program and a new program. And this year is the year I'm going, okay, I have Profit Insiders for interior designers, which is a group coaching with all these components that are going to be fabulous. And we're going to open that up whenever there's availability and shut it down when there's not. And I continue with my one-on-ones and my contracts and let everything else wait and just focus on the one thing. So for you guys who are listening, what is the avenue that has brought you business in the past, and did you stop doing it because you got bored?
Yeah, and the other place I really see this pop up a lot, not with just marketing, but in terms of the services that designers offer. You might have your full service interior design package, but then all of a sudden somebody asks you to do some holiday decorating for them. You're like, that sounds fun. I could do that. And, for some businesses, maybe that does become a whole nother exclusive offering. But what I see happening is that like pop up of like, oh, I could do that. I could do that. And it's like all of a sudden you're starting to dilute then what your core package is that you really want people to buy. And I think, you can think about it with your interior design services or even with your services, Nancy, of wanting to offer multiple programs. It's like you almost start to become in competition with yourself because the client has so many options, they don't know what to choose.
Yes. See, but that's also the trick, right? I don't have on my website, choose what you want. Do you want to do one-on-one? Do you want to do group? Do you want to do this?
Yeah.
It all starts with the one starting spot, just like a designer. It all starts with the initial consultation. And then you guys have to be good listeners and say, this is the best program for you. Yeah. And tell the client what the best program is. You don't want to say, well, do you want designer for a day, designer on call, or full service design? What do you think? No, you want to say what I've heard from you in the last hour and a half to 2 hours leads me to offering you a perfect service model for you.
Yeah. 100%.
And, right. And that's really the key, not to just blast everything up on your site and say, pick and choose, because I can do everything.
Yeah.
It does dilute your effectiveness, I think, also.
Yeah.
And as Caden's saying, in competition with yourself, he's saving that one in his back pocket. He liked that line. It's true, though. It's a good line to pick up on. So if you're currently in overwhelm, we can do the start, stop, keep exercise.
Yeah.
Any other little nuggets for people who are in overwhelm?
Yeah. I really like to also approach overwhelm from a mindset standpoint and looking at what are the neutral circumstances of whatever it is you're dealing with. So it's like to really distill down what it is you have to do to the boring facts. So it's like, maybe I have this project deliverable due at Friday at 2 p.m. for a meeting or something like that. Or I need to select 3 options for a sofa for this client that I'm meeting with next week. So I think just even taking a step back and looking at it from a factual standpoint can bring a lot of clarity and relief, because you're not letting it spin, right? Because often what's happening is we have these very specific tasks that we need to think or to complete, and then we have a thought about them, such as like, oh, there's so much to do. There's never enough time in the day. I'm never going to get this done. I'm being pulled in so many directions, right? I mean, we could go on and on. There's all these complaints that start coming up over these very factual matters of what's on our calendar and what we promised people that we would do. And then that's when we start to feel the overwhelm, because all of our feelings come from the way that we think. And overwhelm is an indulgent emotion. And indulgent emotions, they seem really necessary because they feel very busy. And I think that's what a lot of people's experience of overwhelm is that there's lots of mental activity. And so it feels productive. But the thing with indulgent emotions is it feels necessary, but it produces absolutely no results for you, right?
Love this.
When you're overwhelmed, you get stuck in inaction. And so while it feels productive to be like, oh, I got to do so much, I got to get all this done, what ends up happening is usually you end up like checking your Facebook or Instagram, you check your email for the 100th time that day. You do anything but do what the things are you're supposed to be doing that would actually get you out of feeling so overwhelmed.
Oh my God, that's so true. Hold on, I got to pick up my dog. She's at my feet. Okay.
Oh my goodness, what a cutie.
That's Millie. Millie, say hi. So, okay, I love this, and I want you to repeat this because I need everyone to get this, because this I teach it a little differently, but I love the way you are framing it and the words you're using. Indulgent emotions. Explain it again and give those examples again, because it's really key, and I hope everybody's writing this down.
Yeah, so indulgent emotions are emotions that kind of pretend to be necessary and they produce no action. So overwhelm is one of the biggest ones that I see, but you could also be thinking like indecision, self-doubt. Those are another one, other indulgent emotions that come up, worry. And all of those emotions are being created in our bodies by something that we're thinking. So it's the story you're telling yourself about the things that you have to do. So it's, I've got too much to do. I'm being pulled in too many directions. All of these thoughts, which really are just, there's sentences floating by in your brain.
At 100 miles an hour.
Yep.
And over and over and over again.
Yeah. But see, the thing is with them is like, they are so present and I feel like they're part of our daily narrative. We're always talking about how busy we are and how there's so much to do. And so it starts to just feel like a fact. You're like relaying the nightly news to your friends that like, you've got too much to do. And so then you start to feel overwhelmed, that indulgent emotion. And all that does is stop you in your tracks. right? You start doing everything but what you really should be doing to get the task complete.
Yeah, so I say it a little differently. Stop talking about it and just do it. Because the amount of time you talked about it, it would have taken 5 minutes to do. I know, I'm like, I go more on the forward and less in the psyche, but I totally agree with you. And I love the way you're saying it. It's basically the amount of time you took to just tell me that story, you could have had it done.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right? And it's hard to be my friend. Because no, I'm different with my friends. But sometimes I am thinking, for the amount of time you just used up of my life and your life telling me that story, you could have just gone and dealt with that. And I always say, instead of how can I manage everything that I have on my plate, I can't manage everything on my plate. Turn it into how can I, and just take it like one mini step at a time.
Yeah. Well, and I think, 2 points here with that. One is when we're telling ourselves the story that there is too much to do, feeling overwhelmed, doing anything but doing what we need to do, the result we get for that is that we further prove there isn't enough time to do everything we need to do because you haven't done it. And so it reinforces this belief that you have. You're like, yeah, see, look, I have too much to do, right? And so I think that's where it can get really tricky, is like you start to find evidence that there is too much to do and that that's just the way it is. And if you don't take a second to actually think like, okay, what is it that I actually have to accomplish? And what kind of energy do I want to bring to this of like committed or determined to actually get me to take action? It's easy to get stuck in overwhelm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but let me push back a little bit, because I'm going to be your worst client ever, just for fun. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I have 3 kids. 2 of them are sick. My mother needs my support. I have friends who are pulling on me, and I have a husband, and I need to do everything I'm doing. There is nothing I can eliminate.
Nothing.
I literally can eliminate nothing. What am I going to do? Tell my kids no, I can't make them dinner, or no, I'm not going to do their laundry, right?
Yes, but okay, everything is a choice. There is nothing you absolutely have to do. You could allow your kids to go out with dirty clothes. You could allow them to go out without any clothes. If you don't even have to
CPS would be at my door, right? I have older kids. I'm just pushing back on Desi, right? Because I know you hear the same thing I hear. And so we're giving you guys an example of sometimes what we hear from you guys. Like, I have to be on site to the contractor said they need me and they need me now, and I have to go. And when I say to them, and then did the contractor actually do the work that you now approved or revised right then and there, or did he do it 3 days later? And they laugh sometimes. They go, it's kind of like that hurry up and wait.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah. So that's a good point. Yes, it's a choice. You could let your kids go out in dirty clothes, although most people wouldn't do that.
But I think it can be really powerful for people to understand that it is a choice, that there really is nothing that you have to do. You might not like the consequences of not doing it, but it's still a choice. And I think when you recognize that it is a choice that you're making and how you spend your time, it's like you get all your power back. The world is no longer happening to you. You are happening to it. And I think, that's what's so powerful about that shift from like, I'm choosing to do something, I want to do something, I get to do something, as opposed to I have to.
I love the I get to. And you did a training in my membership site for my membership site people and my one-on-one clients. And that was one of the big takeaways for me, that you said, I get to, as opposed to I have to. Was that the shift?
Yeah. And I think, I want to too. Like, I want to show up on site to get that information delivered to the contractor, because I want the project to turn out exactly as I envisioned, because I want to have a happy client who will then pay me and refer me to their friends.
Yes.
Totally different.
Yes, totally different. But at times, I did say to a client the other day, and I'm just reading Sharon's comment, Stephen Covey's book, 7 Habits, has a great table that you can use to break down your roles and then break down your priorities per role and use those to guide your efforts.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Thank you, Sharon. One of the things I did when my kids were younger was when laundry became an overwhelming thing, because I had 3 very active teenagers, I thought I cannot keep up. And I was running a full-time business. And I took the whole pile, somebody suggested it to me, and I brought it to the laundromat. And I got past the, I don't want anyone else cleaning my underwear and all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is the best $15 a week that I spent. And I was willing to give up anything else. If $15 was a big deal to me during certain times, that was the best $15 I ever spent the entire week. And when I tell you, you bring in a pile like this in a big bag, and it comes back in a little square like this, you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I was doing to myself exactly what you had said. Oh my God, I have so much laundry to do. When am I going to do the laundry? It's so much laundry. If I stopped just dwelling on it and did it, it probably wouldn't have even taken me that long. And now I enjoy laundry. It's relaxing.
Mm-hmm.
But at that time, it was the thing that was making me stuck. So I found a solution that was not very pricey.
Yeah, I know. And I think people are often surprised at how inexpensive a solution can be, or what some little trade you can make, right? I mean, for us, I love to cook, and we eat at home most nights.
Mm-hmm.
So I hire someone weekly to come chop vegetables. So that way it's like when I'm ready to put the onion in the pan, it's already diced, and it's like little things like that where you have to look, going back to Sharon's comment just about your priorities. Like, what are your priorities and how you're spending your time? Like, is that in alignment, or is there something you need to do to shift that? And I think we can get really creative. We're creative people by nature. I mean, there are solutions out there to any problem that we are experiencing. We just need to start thinking about it, like you were saying, how can I do this, as opposed to how can I ever, or I can't.
Right. Oh, I don't know how. I love I'm too old to learn that. It's beyond my abilities. And sometimes people really get stuck in, I just want to hire someone to do that.
Yeah.
And I get the fact that we all teach you guys to stay in your genius zone and hire for what's not in your genius zone. But that also can add to overwhelm, don't you think? Just that line in the sand, like, I am just not able to do this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Instead of giving it 5 minutes and going, oh, that was really easy.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, if you take a look at what are some of the repeated tasks that you're doing, I see that a lot with where it's like building a new skill set, like, learning how to use Revit or SketchUp or something like that. And I think that goes back to what are the overall priorities and goals in your business? Like, is it important for you to be able to use that software to better serve your clients, or does it not really matter who's doing it? It's just that it's something that needs to be offered for your client experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something always that's interesting to look at.
That is interesting to look at. And then I think sometimes it's the creative process that people love and they don't want to give it up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, I don't want to give that up because that's the part I like.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, that's totally fine. But again, just being honest about that, that's what you're doing then.
Right.
Right. And liking your reason. Do you like that you don't want to give it up because you're afraid someone's going to do it wrong? Or do you not want to give it up because you feel like that's the reason you got into design and you never want to give that up? There's a difference.
There's a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
And do you find that people take a while? My son, who's here, is messaging me via text because he doesn't want to interrupt me. Okay. He's home from college.
Oh, fun.
5 more days. Yeah, it was nice having him here.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm used to being completely empty nest, and then he was back, and I was like, I was a little nervous how I would feel about every day, and it was so perfect. He's such an easy person to have here at 20 years old. As long as I do his laundry and feed him once in a while. Although he has cooked for me as well.
Oh, I'm impressed. That's pretty good.
Yeah, well, he's vegan, so he doesn't want me eating non-vegan. So he'll be like, no, Mom, you could just do it this way. So anyway, it's a lot of fun. But let's give some time management tips. Let's switch over to, these are time management tips, actually, also, everyone who's listening. But what are some really distinct time shifts that people can make and feel like they have found more time in their day?
Yeah, I think one of the big ones is starting to think about how long you want things to take, or you've decided for them to take, instead of like leaving it open-ended to how long is this going to take me? Because we always end up filling whatever amount of time we're going to give ourselves, we end up filling that, and often it's over that. So, for example, you could be going to the design center to pick out a set of fabrics, and you also need to source a couple of lamps, and actually taking the time to go through and think through, okay, so these fabrics are going to take me about 30 minutes to find, the lamp's going to take me maybe another 30 minutes to find, and I need to stop and return some samples, which will take me 5 minutes at this other place, and so forth, so that you're setting those parameters for yourself, because otherwise you could just go off and spend all the time in the world. Because it can always be better. It can always, we can always find a slightly better option, and then that not only starts to eat into our time, but it starts to eat into our profitability, because generally you end up not charging for that extra looking. So
100%. I am often repeating the sentence, you're hired for beautiful design, not perfect design, because perfect design does not exist. And how often do you go back to your first or second choice when you started an hour ago sourcing that perfect lamp?
Yeah.
Yet you've spent the next 45 minutes looking for something even better. And probably 100% of my clients go, you're right. Like, it's always the first or second choice.
Yeah.
So why take that extra 45 minutes? So I love this. I hope everyone's listening to this mind shift that Desi is sharing, because making a decision on how long something is going to take you in advance is really important. Because if you leave it open-ended, one of the things I teach is with social media, right? Social media can suck up all your time.
Oh, yes.
All of your time. So for me, I'm on many platforms. 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes. When I'm in work mode, I'm not talking about my pleasure Facebooking or whatever, but to do my marketing that I like to do, when I get strict with myself, and I'm not perfect at this, and there are days I don't do this, but this is when I get back on track. It's like 10 minutes on Facebook, 10 minutes on Instagram, 10 minutes on Pinterest, 10 minutes on LinkedIn. And that's my daily allocation. If I didn't give myself that and make a decision, like Desi's saying, in advance, hours later, I'd be like, God, I didn't get anything done.
Yeah, it's easy to do. And I think, even building in those time blocks for some of the things that you do like to do for pleasure, because maybe you do want to just scroll through Instagram and find some cool interiors products or shots, or maybe it's a totally different interest that you have, but actually deciding you're going to spend maybe 20 minutes just looking for fun. Or I had a client I'm working with this past week, and she's having a really hard time with time management. And one of the things that came up for her is she's like, I just love to work on decorating my own home. So I find myself throughout the day, like trying to source things for this or source things for that. And it's like, we'll schedule in some time. So that way, when you're tempted to go work on something that's not on the plan, You
Right.
know it's coming. You have some time set aside for it, and you can enjoy it instead of feeling guilty about it because you're supposed to be doing something else.
Yes, I love that everyone's starting to comment, but I like Sarah's. The first wedding dress is usually the right final choice. I try to stop so I don't get stuck in the vortex. It's,
Yeah.
and I call it a tornado,
Yeah.
right? It's a tornado that you just get sucked into, and to be conscious of it and to stop the tornado and step outside of it and go, look what I'm doing, and be conscious of what you're doing is going to make a huge difference. What did Heather say? My friend who's a business coach says she spends very little time on social media and none on Pinterest or Instagram. Yeah, because we are wanting to stay in our genius zone, right? And create programs and processes that help you guys. And if we get stuck on social media, it's just ridiculous. I mean, I really watch very little of what other coaches are doing, because that, just like if you guys are watching too much of what other interior designers are doing, it's always a pull. It's that pull. Like, should I be doing that? They seem so successful. That seems to be great, like, and maybe I should be doing that. And in the end, I stopped doing that. I stopped listening to everything every other coach is putting out, because it's inevitable that you start doing that comparison. And I know a lot of you do the comparison with other designers. Like, look at them. They were apparently successful in 1 year from starting their business. And that does terrible things to somebody's psychological self. I think social media has really affected people's confidence and self-esteem. Do you agree, Desi?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It just makes it so much, I think, we are humans, we have the human brain. So, and we're wired to function within community. And so I wanting to fit in and wanting to be part of the cohort makes sense from a biological standpoint. But at where we're at with social media, it just makes it so easy for you to have like all these other packs that you can be exploring and deciding if you fit in, right? And so it just sets you up for that comparison, that compare and despair, as you often hear.
Compare and despair. Another good nugget.
Yeah, because I mean, it's you don't know exactly what the backstory is on that, right? You don't, just because someone has a beautiful Instagram doesn't mean they have a successful business. And vice versa. You can make assumptions all day long, but all you're doing is having thoughts about those people, right? And then making that mean something about you, basically. So
yeah, I mean, that's perfectly said. And even you have kids, I don't remember how old they are, but even as my kids were growing up and social media started to become very prevalent, I would hear, well, she's so beautiful and she's so skinny and it's that same dynamic that we have now as adults with our businesses. She's, or he is seemingly doing so much better than I am. What am I doing wrong?
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing that I think can be tricky about social media too is we all see what's working for someone else. And so we all start to want to emulate what they're doing. And that really distracts us from what our core genius is. I mean, I really think that every designer has their own twist and their own style. And when you start to adhere to too much of what's going to get the likes because it's a white and bright, airy space of, another shelfie or something like that, it works from an algorithm standpoint, but are you really building your portfolio and your distinct look for what you want to be known for? Or are you chasing what's currently popular on the grid? So I think you just have to be aware of that as you look at things.
Definitely. And are you enjoying your life, or are you constantly dwelling on what should you be doing next? I mean, I want everyone to plan, what are you doing next? But you can't do everything all at once. This is what causes the overwhelm and the time management issues, because you're trying to solve every one of your business obstacles all at once right away. Well, how long is this going to take? And when am I going to get my next client? And like, there's this frenzy in everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't say everybody. There's a frenzy in many people that I want to say, take a deep breath and realize that you finally are focusing on the correct things. And now it will happen. It just, it does take time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when we focus on one thing at a time, it really creates so much momentum as opposed to sprinkling our efforts all over the place. And I think you spoke to that wonderfully. So
I'm going to go back to.
Yeah. And when we focus on one thing at a time.
What happened? Oh, that's funny. I touched something on my phone and we started playing on my phone.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I just saw a comment. I got to roll up because Be Live is a little different. What's my hair doing, Desi? I haven't looked at myself and all of a sudden I saw this thing. Okay, let's see. My son is loving this. You're spot on with that, Desi. I was just talking to me before we can wind down and how I just realized I was having full thought arguments with people in my head last night. Remember when I got on with you, I said I was just on with my son. That's what we were talking about. When you start to be aware of your self-dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
And realize what your brain is doing to yourself by dwelling on things, which then in the end kind of shuts you down from productivity.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think your son brings up a good thing to make a side note about of as you start to develop this awareness of what you are thinking, it's really important to, I think, approach that with a sense of curiosity and also compassion, because I think what often happens within this growth phase of becoming more aware of what your mindset is and working to create a mindset that serves you is that you realize there's a lot of negative stuff going on upstairs all the time. And it's so easy to go, well, I'm so negative and I shouldn't be thinking this. And I can't believe I've been thinking this all my life. And there's so much judgment around it. And it's another thing that I think gets people overwhelmed, is like it feels like such a big, heavy thing when it's like, well, these are just sentences that my brain is offering up. And now that I'm aware of them, I can choose and I can get curious about like, why am I thinking that?
That's interesting. The non-judgment, I think, is very hard for people. So I think that it's really important to talk about that a little more. When you know what you're doing to yourself, but yet you can't seem to stop.
Mm-hmm.
What are some tips people can take when they're become aware of it? It's kind of like the first step, awareness.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But then what are some solid tips that they can do in order to take it from awareness to moving to that next level?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one of the first things is with the judgment, I think that sounds so harsh. And that's one of the reasons that I like to think about it as in terms of curiosity.
Okay.
Like, what is it that I really need right now? Or I wonder why I'm choosing to think that. And it's going beyond the negative self-talk in terms of, it's like you're speaking to a friend. Like, I don't think that about you. That's not true. Like, why would you do that to yourself? Right. And so I think that's an important shift there. And then I think you can also start to, once you recognize kind of what that belief is that you have about yourself, you can start adding some modifiers to the belief, I call it. So like one of my clients has this very strong belief that she is not disciplined. And she's fighting for this, right? She doesn't want to let it go, but now she's becoming aware of it. And so some of the thoughts we're playing with is like, I'm becoming someone who's disciplined. I'm learning to figure this out. I'm learning to be disciplined. And asking yourself to seek evidence then too of what are some areas that I actually might be disciplined in. Maybe I'm not disciplined in this one area right now, however you define that. But maybe there's another area where it's like, maybe that's not true. Maybe I'm wrong about that. And so I think you just start to play with what your brain's offering up and take a look at it from different angles. And I think that's
painful.
What was that?
Very painful sometimes.
It can be, but on the other side, it's amazing, right? I mean, you have to, and I think that's part of when you work with a coach for the first time, there is a little bit of that like blind trust of like, we are going to guide you through those weeds and you have to trust that there is the clearing on the other side. But once you see that all they are thoughts, that they can't actually hurt you, I think it can be really liberating. And it's like, well, what area can I tackle next? Because
definitely
there's so many areas to explore, and judgments that we make on ourselves or beliefs we've accepted as true. And when we start to wiggle them around, you kind of start to think, that's not true. What else is true? What else is false in my life? What else am I making assumptions about? And you really get to have the beauty of that growth to that next version of yourself.
I definitely, and I love this. And I know we're already at 5:21. I can't even believe it. There's a topic I want to get your view on so our listeners can hear. And we did not talk about this in advance. If you don't want to talk about it, let me know. But it brought up when you were talking, people in financial overwhelm. It's not fake. They are truly struggling financially, but the story they're telling themselves is not helping them break out of financial overwhelm. So talk a little bit about that from your perspective.
In terms of how they would get out of the financial overwhelm, is that what your question is?
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think it's really similar to the time issue or overwhelm of when you're telling yourself you don't have enough money, you can't pay the bills, you start feeling overwhelmed. Likely your action is going to be, well, I'm already in debt, I might as well spend some more. Or something along those lines of, I don't need to bother paying that off because it's such a big sum, I'm never going to pay it off. So why try? Which then further proves that you're never going to be able to pay off your debt, right? And so I think it's a really like time and money are very closely linked. I think the way that we think about them and the process that we go through with them. And when we take a step back and look again at the facts of the situation, financially struggling, that is not an objective fact, right? That's a story that you're creating around what's happening financially. And so maybe it's you are $50,000 in debt on a Visa credit card, right?
Yeah.
Then once you start to take it back to the facts, you can go, okay, so that's $50,000. If I were to pay off this amount of money per month, it would happen in this many months. What do I need to do to create that money per month? And it's like you can start to work backwards with your action steps because you're taking away all of the drama around it. It just becomes a number.
That's exactly what I was hoping you got to.
Okay.
It really, I teach this stuff. You teach this stuff. You teach it in a different way than I do, which I so appreciate. I love hearing your perspective on this. And I think it's really useful for everyone to hear it. When you take away the drama and you strip it down to facts, what you said, what do I need to do in order to get this result, is what your eyes and your mind are going to start seeing, because what you focus on expands.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So if you keep saying, I'm in debt, I don't know what to do, I just need to take that job and I need to do whatever that client needs me to do because I just need the money, I want you to realize that when you take jobs like that, you're taking away time that you could be working towards a different financial status or working towards more of your ideal client or working on solving obstacles in your life that will actually have a greater result than just taking and chasing the money.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. I agree.
So tell everybody what you offer, and it's 5:25, so I want to make sure I give you time to talk about, you have a free giveaway, and you offer mini sessions, I think you call them?
Yep, they're mini sessions. So yeah, the first thing I would love to offer the audience is my free guide to how to create more time and profit in your business. And it's got more teachings around some of the things we've been talking about here, time management, both the mindset and the strategy of it. And it's a downloadable workbook that you can actually print, and there's journal prompts and different exercises for you to do in there, and people have just been loving it. So I highly recommend that everyone who's here or people listening later go download that. So it's DesiCresswell.com and then /time and profit, all one word. And I'll post it in the comments.
Good.
But there's seriously such good stuff in there. So it's a really good use of your time.
Right. We have to say that, right? This is a really good use of your time, because now there's
so many downloads out there and different things that you can get via email. And when I put it together, I really wanted it to be something that could help actually take some action, get yourself in the right mindset, and start to think about this whole time management and profit differently in your business than anyone else is talking about it. So again, download it. I highly recommend. And then the other thing that you mentioned are the mini sessions, and those can be scheduled on my website. There's a little tab that says schedule mini session, and it's a lot like this. We spend 30 minutes approximately talking about where you are currently, where you want to go, and how we can create a plan to move you in that direction. And it's no pressure. We talk through whatever's going on, and I offer some solutions. And then if it's a good fit on both of our ends, then we can talk about working together on a longer term basis. But that's totally complimentary, and you can just sign up for that on my website. And I'm happy to post the link for that as well.
And I'm sharing your website right now. It should be coming on the screen any moment. Wait, did it come up? Now it's spinning. Hold on. I went to your cover page so people can recognize when they get there.
Oh, sure.
How long have you been coaching, Desi, and do you love it?
I do, yeah. About a year and a half now, I've made the full transition. There was a period of time where I was kind of half in, half out. Still, when you say you're not going to take any design projects anymore, your phone starts ringing exponentially, I've found. So I went through a period where I was like, but I really want to help these people. But, again, focus, right? You can't do it all at once. So, but yeah, it's been amazing. It's so exciting to see, my clients have their wins. I mean, I just met with a client yesterday, and she's like, I'm starting 3 dream projects this week. It's so exciting to see, and she was someone who was totally in that state of overwhelm and not sure what direction to go and spinning her wheels. And so to see people using these tools that I work with them on create exactly what they want for their life and their business, it's just, you can't beat it. So
it's such a great feeling. And I laughed when you said, when you decided not to take on any more design projects, suddenly they all came, flooding in the door. Same thing happened with me with my art framing and accessory consulting business. After 17 years, I was like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. I love the coaching, and I love when I feel my clients' success, see their successes, and I'm going to shut this down. And yeah, that's exactly what happened to me too. Suddenly I was getting job after job after job with art. They wanted artwork, and I'm like, you know what? With no resentment, I passed it all to the other art consultant here on Long Island.
Yeah.
She didn't ask for anything. I'm like, I don't want anything. Just take it. I'm happy to help your business, because now I get to 100% focus. And it's really important to focus on one thing so you can do it well and you can serve your clientele to the best you can serve them. So when I hear clients saying, well, should I do this at the same time as I'm doing interior design? Should I do that at the same time? I'm like, I'd really love you to choose one. Let's choose one and do it really, really well. So yeah, I see people saying, oh, that's happening to me. So yeah, it's choose a direction and jump into the middle of the ocean with a plan. I'm not saying jump into the middle of the ocean without a plan. So it is 5:30. Thank you so much, Desi, for being here.
Thank you for having me here. It was so fun to chat with you again.
Yes, and like I said, Desi has done a training for my membership site, that for my one-on-one clients and for my membership site clients, and now for my Profit Insiders for Interior Designers group program that we're starting January 23rd. So if you have not checked that program out yet, go to my website, nancyganzacoffer.com, and check out Profit Insiders for Interior Designers. And the reason why I did that is because I'm truly out of one-on-one time working with clients, and I want to be able to serve more people in 2020. So I pulled out all the stops on this program. They actually have access to my phone, Desi, so you might have to help me with time management on that one.
Yeah. We'll chat.
Yes, the Voxer access to my phone for any of the Profit Insiders, and I'm going to answer once a day at a certain time. So anyway, have a great weekend. Do not forget to tune in next week. I am going to be here again next week, Weekend Wind Down with Peter Lang, designer CPA, and we are going to be talking about the dreaded taxes, sales tax, which I get a ton of questions about, and I'm not a tax accountant. And even Peter, it's so different in every state that he's going to do his best to navigate for you guys and answer your questions. So someone's saying kindly repeat the website. I don't know if they're talking about me or you. So you go first and then I'll go second.
Sure. And I just posted it in the comments too. It's www.desicresswell.com/time and profit for the free guide.
Excellent. And if you're looking for my website, it's my name, nancyganzacoffer.com. All right, everyone, I will see you next week. I hope you tune in to watch Peter Lang and I talk about sales.
That'll be a good one.
Oh my God, I know it's going to be really super active. I probably should just set 2 hours, but I'm not going to. 1 hour. So be there on time or be square. All right. Talk to you. Bye. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Thanks, Desi.
Bye, Nancy.
Bye.